Imagine waking up one day and finding out that everything making you human has just been stolen from you.
Like not just misplaced, but forcibly stripped away, completely
In-
without your consent.
exactly. And then, you're standing in the wreckage of your own life, and an archangel offers you a bargain.
Which already sounds like a very loaded situation.
Right. I mean, you can earn your humanity back, you can find peace, but the price of this angelic deal is, well, the one thing you swore you would never, ever risk again.
Your heart.
Yes. And that impossible tension is the beating heart of today's deep dive. We are exploring Valerie Twombly's dark, just emotionally urgent paranormal romance redemption.
It's the second book in the Dark Horizon series, right? The spin-off of her eternally mated universe.
Yeah, exactly. And our mission today is to look at what happens to a man whose entire identity is built on, discipline and control when all of that is stripped from him.
And how love goes from being this nice metaphor for healing into the literal biological key to survival.
But okay, to understand the deeply intimate character stuff happening here, we have to set the scene really quickly because the backdrop is quite literally the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. The lore here is brutal. I mean, the world didn't just end by accident. Lucifer orchestrated it.
Right, he needed to open the gate of the gods in Peru.
And a divine lock requires a divine key. So he uses the blood of a captive angel to shatter the seal, which releases a demon named Morbus.
And Morbus isn't just some monster.
No, he is the physical, sentient embodiment of disease. And once he's free, he unleashes this terrifying plague known as the Red Death.
Which does exactly what a demon-forged plague sounds like it would do. It just wipes humanity off the map. Millions gone, society totally collapses.
It's completely devastating.
So to protect the tiny fragments of the human race that are left, a demon resurrects an ancient Inca princess named Arsenia, turns her into a vampire, and gives her one mandate: create protectors.
They call them primordials.
Right.
Because, regular vampires just wouldn't be strong enough to fight off hordes of demons in a sentient plague.
Right.
Arsenia needs apex predators. So she selects 4 elite human specimens, Navy SEALs.
The absolute peak of human discipline.
Exactly. And she subjects them to this dark resurrection ritual, turning them completely against their will.
Which brings us to our protagonist, Decker. He's her first success, the strongest of the 4 primordials, and he absolutely fundamentally despises everything about it.
I mean, you have to think about the psychological weight of that violation.
Right. He dedicated his human life to protecting people. He operated under strict moral codes. And suddenly he's this blood-drinking monster that he views as evil.
He's essentially just existing out of sheer, stubborn obligation.
Which ties directly into that bargain we mentioned at the start. He makes a deal with an archangel named Tegan. Decker agrees to lead and protect a fortified compound of human survivors.
He takes on all that burden, the demon attacks, the horror of his own thirst. But his payment for this isn't glory or a cure.
No, his requested reward is a firing squad. He wants to die.
Yeah, the Archangel promises that once humanity is stabilized, his service is complete, and he can cross over to reunite with his murdered wife, Sophie, and their baby daughter.
Who were killed before he was ever turned. So he's basically just a man walking around in a corpse, punching the clock until his execution day.
That profound apathy toward his own survival just bleeds into every decision he makes.
It really does. There's this incredibly striking scene early on that captures his psyche perfectly. Decker and his men are caught outside on a scouting mission as dawn breaks.
And the sun in this lore is unforgiving. It will literally burn an unmated vampire to ash.
Right. So they find this one single tree for shelter, but the shade just isn't big enough for everyone. So Decker, totally quietly, no big speech, just steps out of the shade.
He steps directly into blistering sunlight so his men have enough room.
And he just stands there. The author doesn't shy away from it. You're reading about his skin blackening, blistering, the smell of burning flesh. He just endures it.
Later, he brushes it off, saying, "Oh, I'm a primordial. I can survive it longer."
Yeah, but watching him do that, it feels like looking at a guy trying to pay off a mortgage on a house that already burned down.
That is a great way to put it.
He's just throwing his suffering into a void. Which actually makes me want to push back on the premise of the book's title, Redemption.
Oh, how so?
Well, let's look at the facts. Decker didn't ask to be turned. He didn't cause the Red Death. He was a victim. So what exactly is he trying to be redeemed from? He didn't commit a sin.
This raises an important question. We have to separate actual sin from perceived failure.
Right.
What is the difference between trying to earn forgiveness for a crime and trying to punish yourself for surviving? Decker's survivor's guilt is just so all-consuming.
Because he lost his family in such a brutal way.
Exactly. He's equated this numb self-flagellation with duty. In his mind, a good husband and father would have saved his family or died with them. Because he's still breathing, he thinks he failed.
So he believes he deserves the agonizing pain of his existence. He's built this massive wall of guilt.
He thinks he's fighting for this angelic redemption at the end of the road, completely blind to the fact that he's already enacting redemption every single day.
By being the protector his people need, he's paying a debt he doesn't owe.
But biology, even immortal biology, forces the issue eventually. You cannot push a physical form through that much trauma without consequences.
So true.
After the incident in the sun, Decker's burns are life-threatening. He's pushed into the infirmary, which brings him right into the domain of Emma Torres.
Oh, Emma. She is such a refreshing character in this bleak setting.
She really is.
She's a nurse. Her entire ethos is built around healing. And while everyone else sees Decker as this terrifying primordial commander, Emma just refuses to view him that way.
She looks at this hulking, burned predator and just sees a patient in desperate need of care.
And Decker knows her empathy is a massive threat to his emotional walls. He actually deliberately avoids her before this.
Yeah, he sets up a rotation to feed from other human women in the compound, just so he never has to rely on Emma.
Because he knows her blood and her presence will demand something from him that he refuses to give. But the severe burns leave him no choice.
Which leads to the first feeding scene in the infirmary, which is just the critical turning point of the whole narrative.
Oh, absolutely. Paranormal romance uses feeding scenes as intimacy all the time, but here it operates on this violently biological level.
Right. They're trying so hard to maintain professional distance, and their biology just overrides them. The sensory details here are incredible.
Oh my gosh, yes. The scent.
When Emma offers her wrist, Decker inhales her scent, and to his vampire senses, it isn't just blood. It's specific. He smells cinnamon, clove, and peach.
I love that detail. He tries to hold back, testing his control, not fully puncturing her skin at first.
But the control completely shatters.
It does, and we see the physical manifestation of a bond before either of them is emotionally ready. The moment he bites her, Emma is hit with this violent, electric pleasure.
It escalates into a completely unexpected physical release for her.
And on Decker's end, the moment her blood hits his system, it acts like a super catalyst. It heals his life-threatening son burns at a rate that shouldn't be physically possible.
It is an explosive chemical reaction. The universe is practically screaming at them that they are biologically meant to be together.
But the emotional fallout is severe. Decker is terrified by how much he wanted her, and Emma is shaken by her total loss of control.
Think about what that dynamic represents in this world.
Yeah.
In a broken, cynical world ravaged by demons, the most powerful force isn't the guy with the fangs. It's the woman who simply refuses to stop caring.
Wow, yes. Emma's love isn't just some passive feeling. It is a stubborn act of sheer will.
She applies the fundamental principle of nursing to a supernatural warlord.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to aggressively fight for a patient who has given up on themselves.
Even though she knows all about his deal with the Archangel, she knows he's promised to die and leave her behind.
He's guaranteeing a broken heart, but she chooses to step into the blast radius anyway.
Which perfectly leads us into the biggest thematic clash of the story. The physical bond brings up a completely different threat for Decker.
What's fascinating here is how this story handles the fated mate trope. Usually that's the ultimate romantic prize, right? The universe handpicked your partner.
But here, Valerie Twombly turns it into Decker's absolute worst nightmare.
Because it triggers his deepest trauma, the loss of his autonomy.
Exactly. Arsenia ripped away his human life, his agency, when she forced him to become a vampire. He had no say in becoming a monster.
And now, just as he finds a fragile equilibrium, fate steps in and assigns him a mate. We actually see a physical manifestation of this.
A mark on her wrist, right?
Yes, Emma discovers this magical mark, an infinity symbol, intertwined with a heart. To Decker, this isn't romantic, it's a cosmic prison sentence.
It feels like his choices are being stolen all over again, history repeating itself.
He is terrified that if fate forces them together, fate can rip them apart, and he cannot survive feeling another woman he loves.
But this is where Emma's character is so brilliant. She completely flips the trope. She finds out about the mark, she understands the biological pull, but she refuses to be a passive receptacle for destiny.
She isn't just waiting around for fate to deliver her a mate.
Against his protests, against his emotional walls, she deliberately chooses him. She models the exact autonomy that Decker is desperate to reclaim.
She basically looks at the universe's stamp on her wrist and says, "That's nice, but I'm making my own decision."
I love that. She sees the honorable man beneath the predator and decides he's worth the risk. And that right there answers my question about the title.
The redemption piece.
Yes, Decker doesn't need redemption from sin. He needs redemption from his own emotional deadness. It's earned the moment he stops punishing himself for surviving and finally lets someone else in.
It is a beautiful psychological resolution. But of course, the narrative doesn't let them just sit around and enjoy that breakthrough.
Oh no, not in this world.
The stakes immediately shift to literal biological survival. Because the universe wasn't just pushing them together for romance, there's a very dangerous reason they are fated mates.
The ticking clock. Emma isn't just a normal human nurse. She is going through this shocking evolution.
Right, we learn she carries ancient demonic DNA passed down through her bloodline.
And through her connection with a demon named Jag, who acts as her magical familiar Murd, Emma discovers she's actually an incredibly powerful witch.
Her magical awakening is visually spectacular, but it's incredibly volatile.
Like that sequence during the battle with rogue vampires, her perception totally shifts.
He suddenly sees these glowing blue leady lines of energy crisscrossing the earth, and she instinctively taps into that grid to literally blast demons with fire.
Which is amazing, but channeling that raw energy through a human body has a massive physical toll. It's like taking a 4-cylinder car engine and pumping it full of volatile rocket fuel.
The engine block is going to melt.
Exactly. The magic grows so rapidly it makes her violently ill. She spikes a dangerous fever, basically overheating from her own power.
And this is where the fated mate bond becomes a strict biological necessity. Without Decker there to act as a heat sink, Emma's body will burn out.
His primordial biology, altered by that angelic deal, is the only thing dense enough to draw off the excess energy and ground her.
So without her fated mate, Emma will not survive her own evolution.
Decker's emotional stubbornness stops being just a defense mechanism. It becomes a literal, fatal threat to the woman he loves.
He has to fully accept the bond and her to save her life. He has to choose to live.
But the author doesn't stop there. Here's where it gets really interesting. She scales this intimate survival up to encompass the entire human race.
The climax is just a masterclass in escalating stakes. Remember Morbus, the demon of disease.
How could we forget?
He's unfinished. A new, violently mutated strain of the Red Death hits the survivor compound.
Only this time, it's not just targeting humans, it's infecting the vampires.
Right, the primordials, who were considered completely immune to disease, are suddenly collapsing. Hunter, Decker's second-in-command, is struck down with agonizing pain.
The panic in the infirmary is palpable. Vampires aren't supposed to get sick. Emma and the other doctor are scrambling, trying to understand how an immortal apex predator is dying of a demonic flu.
And this is the moment the grand design of the angels is finally revealed. Fate didn't push Decker and Emma together just for personal happiness.
It was a genetic and magical mandate.
Jag, the demon familiar, realizes what the cure must be. The vaccine requires a synthesis of opposing forces that only Decker and Emma can provide.
It requires Decker's primordial blood, which carries residual angelic magic from his deal with Tegan.
But that angelic blood needs a catalyst. It has to be combined with Emma's blood, which carries both the demonic DNA and her new witch magic.
The angelic magic stabilizes the mutating demonic virus, using Emma's magic to bind it together. Love isn't a metaphor here.
No, it's not just a warm feeling that makes the apocalypse bearable. It is the literal, biological key to survival.
If Decker had succeeded in isolating himself, if he had honored his death pact, everyone in that compound would have died.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a profound statement on the difference between surviving and actually living.
Yes, absolutely.
Survival is just existing. Survival is stepping out of the shade, taking the burns, and silently punching the clock. But living requires the terrifying courage to risk your heart again after it's been completely destroyed.
Decker thought his ultimate duty was to die for his people. He had to learn, through Emma, that his actual duty was to live for them.
It is such a hard-won, satisfying resolution for them.
I mean, they literally had to synthesize a cure for a mutated demon plague just to finally admit they deserved to be happy together.
Talk about high-stakes couples therapy.
Right. But for those of you listening who are now completely hooked on this dark, gritty universe, I have to warn you, the war against Lucifer is far from over.
Not by a long shot. The angels are still playing their manipulative games, the demons are adapting, and there are other primordials who are about to face their own impossible choices.
Exactly. While Decker and Emma secured the compound for now, Book 3 of the Dark Horizon series, Salvation, picks up the fight and expands the lore even further.
So if you love paranormal romance where the heroes really have to bleed for their happy endings, you will absolutely want to check it out.
For sure. But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with something to mull over.
Oh, I love these.
We've spent a lot of time analyzing Decker, right? A
Mhm.
man who literally made a contract with an archangel to punish himself for surviving a tragedy. But we all have our own deals we make with ourselves, don't we?
The invisible ways we punish ourselves.
Exactly. For our past mistakes, our perceived failures, or our own everyday versions of survivor's guilt, we build these walls and convince ourselves the isolation is what we deserve.
Decker had to face down literal angels and demons to realize he was allowed to be happy.
To realize the true price of his humanity was risking his heart again. So, what invisible contracts are you holding on to that are keeping you from your own redemption?
That is a powerful question to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, keep challenging your own perspectives, and we'll catch you next time.